What's up, everybody? This is Chris Kane here with the Unofficial Therapy Podcast. I got my boy Mark in the building today. Had to come back home and say what's up to my boy Mark, talk to the people.
Hey, what's up, what's up?
So, this is going to be a little different podcast because Mark's like one of my friends. We're not trying to work through any problems or issues. We do that off camera. But Mark's a firefighter, EMT, like paramedic. You got, what else are you?
Man, we do a lot of shit, but you pretty much covered it.
All right, so like most of y'all, I don't really know all the nuances of what Mark does, but he's told me some stories before that I thought were like crazy, and I don't know how he can like do that and then go to the gym and live a normal life. So I'm gonna have him go into a couple stories, and then we'll kind of flow from there. Mark, tell us some of the craziest shit you've seen out there.
Well, first off, I mean, a lot of it's got to do with a lot of people think firefighting is all just running into burning buildings, putting water on the fire, doing your thing, saving babies, rescuing cats out of trees.
Did you say a baby yesterday though?
I mean that's part of the story we'll get into later.
All right.
It's not always like that. Most of it's going to be medical calls, and a lot of people who do call don't have true emergencies, especially in your certain neighborhoods. It depends on your lower income neighborhoods. They call more frequently, and that's where I work out of, is a lower income neighborhood. So we're getting called all the time. We work 24 hours at a time, 48 off. And that's it. That's if you're not doing any overtime. I just got off a 48-hour shift. And you think, back in the day before I got started, I always thought if I saw somebody riding in the back of an ambulance or what we call a rescue, like, hey, man, something's going down in there, someone's dying, someone's life is getting saved.
That's what TV shows you.
A lot of the time, it's you're a glorified Uber. You're taking someone. I have regular patients who call me multiple times a shift, every shift. You know, same complaint. We got this one lady who calls because she's hungry and she wants to go down to the hospital to get some food. No medical complaint. She's just hungry, you know, and we can't refuse. We can't say, no, I'm not taking you. Because then say I don't take her and something does happen, she dies. And then that's my name on the report. So you got to be nice to people. You got to treat them good. But then again, sometimes it's hard when it's the same person calling over and over. And you're on that call and you hear, you know, another call go out in your area and it's a pediatric, a child who, you know, who's drowned or something, you know, and you're stuck on that call dealing with somebody who doesn't have an emergency. So that can kind of be frustrating.
So in a normal 24-hour shift, how much of that are you working and how much of that are you just waiting for shit to go down?
It depends on what station you're at. You know, there's some good stations out there that the guys who are about to retire and stuff, they go to where they run maybe one call a shift. So if you think about that in 24 hours, a call, depending if you're on the engine or you're on the rescue, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. So the other 23 hours, they're sitting there taking naps. You can work out, watch TV, play video games. We have some guys who finish full seasons of TV shows at work and they're getting paid for it. Those guys are living the life.
That's good.
My station, we're on the busier end. We're one of the busiest ones in the state of Florida, where especially on our rescue, it's not uncommon for me to run 15, 20 calls, you know, in a 24-hour period. So a lot of times that's being up all day, not getting sleep all night. So you're up for 24 hours straight. So everybody's like, yeah, you get 2 days off, though. Well, my first day off, I'm pretty much shot trying to nap and get ready to do it again. But, I mean, we see some good things. You know, you get your shootings, your stabbings. Those are very common in our neighborhoods. But like I said, most of it is glorified on TV. It's going to be you're coming around to someone who has toe pain. I've gotten people who have toothaches. And I tell them, you know, I'm not a dentist. I can take you down to the hospital. And then you try to tell them, look, I'm pretty much an $800 Uber ride for a 2-mile ride to the hospital. You'd be better off, you know, calling an Uber, having a friend drive you. But these people, you know, a lot of them don't really pay their bills anyway, so it doesn't matter. So that's irrelevant to them.
Sure.
Or they think of you as their primary care physician. They think it's an emergency to them, and I gotta act like it's an emergency, and I gotta do what they want.
So I'm more, when you first told me what you were doing, I was thrown off by like the schedule, like most people are. We'll get into the stories in a second, but like prolonged, what kind of effect does this have on your body? Because I know you said like the next day after you're messed up, but then the day after that, like you pretty much lose a day after every day you work, essentially. If you work a 48-hour shift, like in terms of like your eating habits and your sleep schedule, all that stuff, like how does that really be affected by your job?
You got to be flexible. It took a big adjustment for me. I mean, you've known me, doing my competitions for bodybuilding and stuff like that. I've always, hey, I got to work out at this time every day. I always have my preferences. I eat 3 times before I work out. I have some food in me, but then you got to be flexible because there's a lot of times, I don't get to eat. I'll be out on calls and we're not making it back to the station, so you're just going from one call to the other. I might have breakfast and then I might have my next meal, 6, 7 o'clock at night. And then in between, I'm just kind of snacking and just trying to keep my blood sugar up so I'm not passing out and falling asleep and stuff. So, I mean, it's a big adjustment. You got to be flexible. At first, it really bothered me because I'm so used to my regimen and, hey, I'm eating at this time. This is when I'm eating. But, it's not like I can say, hey, I'm not going to this call. I got to get this food in.
I got a donut, bro. I'm sorry. I got to forget that baby.
Yeah, I got to hurry up and get this food now. A lot of the times what I've learned is I'll bring stuff with me and I'm taking a few bites here and there on the way to calls, trying not to crash when I'm driving and all that. A lot of smoothies because you can do that on the go.
Right.
A lot of the hospitals have snacks when you drop patients off, like cookies and stuff like that. So it's not the best, but it's something. And as far as like being up all night, that throws you off. You got to get used to it. At first, I would come home. We get off at 7:30 in the morning. I'd get home 8:30, 9 o'clock. I have breakfast, and then I'd pass out till like 4 or 5 o'clock. And then my whole day's pretty much gone. Now I have it adjusted to where if I come home, if I nap for a couple hours, I'm usually good to function. I'm still kind of groggy and stuff like that, but I'm able to still enjoy my day off and kind of just hang out, so I'm not just napping all day.
Listen, man, I'm still amazed by the schedule, but I'm also amazed that you got a girl during this whole thing. So how does the relationship get balanced while you out here trying to save lives? And like do you download some shit that happened at work and then come home to your girl and then you messed up or euphoric or you just tired? Like how does that relationship work with the job?
My situation is a little different because my girl actually understands. I actually met her at work. She was a student, so she's trying to get into the field, so she understands. But then at times, since she's not directly in the field yet, it does cause some strain when you're up all night. I mean, I'm sure when you guys, if you have a 9 to 5 and you have a stressful day, you come home and your significant other wants to talk about your day and you're not having any of that. You just want to eat, watch some TV, be left alone because you've been dealing with people all day, and it causes a strain on your relationship because your significant other thinks you're being mean to them, that you're taking it out on them, when in all actuality it's just you had a busy day and you just kind of want some downtime. So do that when instead of an 8-hour workday, do that for 24 hours and you're surrounded by 7 other guys because you're pretty much living with 7 other people for 24 hours. So it is hard to get that downtime. There's always someone around, always someone, wanting to hang, talk to, and, you don't even watch TV by yourself. It's all the guys, so you can't even pick what you want. Usually, like, the most senior guys picking what they want to watch, some HGTV, house modeling stuff. When the game's on, you want to watch
houses.
That. Yeah.
It's a good show.
So, I mean, it's definitely strenuous on the relationship. I know with my girl, there's definitely times I come home from work after being up all night. She's asking me, hey, how's your day? And I immediately snap because I'm hungry.
Bitch, baby got him.
So that's definitely hard. I know I'm doing it. It's probably not the best. But she's understanding, so it works. She just tells me, like, I know whatever you're saying right now, you don't mean. You're just grumpy. You need to take a nap. I'll ask you about it. Because she's really interested in the call since she's trying to get in the field. She's trying to ask me, hey, what did you have? And my usual reply is a bunch of bullshit, just as a short answer. Every once in a while, you get some good calls and good stories and good experience. So it's definitely something I'm learning. I'm getting better at it now that, I'm trying to find that balance between, hey, even though I was up all night, it's not an exact excuse to come home and just be a dick to everybody around me.
Can't you come home snapping? You ain't wash dishes again? Like, babe, I was at work too. So this is something I've never experienced. I think most people haven't experienced this before. Like, the first time you were at work and you, like, witnessed a death or someone, like, gets died in your arms, that kind of thing. Like, how did how did, I mean, you had to still do your job, right? So it's like, how did you process that and then just like go about life? Because like you said about the TV thing about being a firefighter, it's all glamorized and they're jumping off the fire truck with their shirts off, spraying hoses at girls and stuff. They're like wearing wet t-shirts, whatever. But when you saw someone die for the first time and then you had to like just compartmentalize it and go to your next task, like what was that first time like?
It's definitely an experience. I mean, the majority of people don't ever witness somebody dying or a death or what it's like to watch somebody take that last breath. Being a medic too, it's a lot of the decision making as far as the medical aspects of it are on me, you know. And I haven't been doing. There's some guys who've been doing this 30 years. You know, I've been doing this too, and so having that, being expected to perform at the same level as them, is definitely challenging. But seeing those deaths for the first time, you kind of, everybody deals with it differently, and there's a lot of people that don't deal with it. A lot of these guys, after 20, 30 years on the job, they're committing suicide, and that's actually a big problem with first responders and police officers. Your body, you're getting post-traumatic stress from it. You might not think anything of it at the time, but seeing over those 30 years, say you had 50 kids die on your watch, and they just start to build up, and then all these guys, they can't take it anymore, and they're actually committing suicide. So that's a lot of the big studies and everything with firefighters right now are how to prevent suicide and cancer, because we're more prone to cancer because of our gear, all the toxins we're around. We do have masks where we have the oxygen going, but there's a lot of other things that we get because of it. But back to your question, with the death, my first one was a 19-year-old female. She went to the local gun range. She rented the gun. They gave her the gun. She loaded it right in the lobby and took it to her temple, and she shot herself in the head. So with something like that, there's no saving. It's what we call in our protocols, there's obvious signs of death. If the stuff that's supposed to be inside your head is now outside, there's no like, hey, are they breathing? Do they have a pulse? That's an obvious sign of death. So we're not doing too much as far as the medical aspect. We're going in there, we're clearing, making sure they are dead, and then the police handle it from there. But just seeing that for the first time, and I can still picture it now. I can see her, I can see what it looks like, I know the scene, and it's not like a horror movie where there's, it's blood's everywhere, but it's definitely, a horrific scene. But it's something, everybody deals with it differently. Like, I was fortunate enough to have an experienced crew when I first got on. We talked about it and made sure everybody's good. And a lot of the times with firefighters, you have an ego, so you don't want to be that guy to say, hey man, I'm not really feeling too good after that. But we have a lot of teams that come and talk to you if you need it, a lot of counseling. But the best thing, I think, is your crew, and not to hold it in. Like me having, Chris here and having some of my good friends, my family, to talk about things. And a lot of the times it's just telling them the story. Like, hey, this is what I saw. So, if I'm off, just know I have a reason. It's not just me doing it because I'm tired. I saw something traumatic. It's going to take me a little bit. But for me, I just try to talk about it with my crew, make sure, my crew's okay. And now that I got a little bit of experience, we got newer guys, I make sure the newer guys are okay. And for me, I just try not to bring that home. I look at it from the standpoint of when I got on scene, they're the patient, whether they died, while I was there, they died before, I'm giving them the best chance of survival. If their heart stops, I get on scene and I'm pushing the drugs to, restart their heart, shocking them, and you see on the TV shows, the clear. We don't do all that, but we do deliver the shocks, to try to restart the heart. Doing all that, I gave them the best chance, and as long as I know that, hey, I showed up, I did the best I could, sometimes you're just not going to save everybody. And that's kind of how I go about it, where to forget about things like that, where you can't bring it on to the next one. You might get a call for, I've had, a 6-month-old death, and you do everything you can. Obviously, you're going to work a little bit harder on a kid or a baby than you would, somebody who's terminally ill, who's 110. You're going to put that little extra effort in. I've been on those calls, and you lose the baby, it's sad, but you got to turn around and you get the next call, and you got to, not let that affect you so it's affecting your care on the next patient.
That's some G shit. So obviously people listening now are probably a little sad. So we gotta change. It's like, oh, pobrecito. So we gotta change gears a little bit. Tell me about the most heroic, or I guess the best moment you've had out there. And I guess they can probably be one of the same, or go.
I mean, as a firefighter, we get the fires. Those are all fun. Generally, with the way construction is nowadays, houses aren't burning like they used to. But I mean, a good fire is always fun. You do feel like the hero that you see on TV when you pull up and you see flames shooting all over the place. And I mean, essentially, you just kind of put water on it, but it's still fun.
You just put a little water. It's such a marginalized. You just put a little water on the fire. That's all. It's like, never mind all the other shit that's happening with pieces falling and the smoke and all. You just put water on it.
The best thing for me is it really is the camaraderie among your crew. That's the fun. The fun aspect of it. Like my crew, we're one of the busiest, and a lot of people don't like being that busy because they all say, it all pays the same. Why would I run 20 calls a shift when I can get paid the same amount of money to run one call a shift? Your crew really makes or breaks it. I had a good crew. We stay up, having fun. We have an Xbox. You're playing games. I honestly think that's the best part, because if you think about it, like, I got 7 other guys with me. We have a ping pong table at the station. We have a basketball hoop. So when you're not out there running calls, you're out there having fun. It's like hanging out with your boys for 24 hours. What are we doing? You cook dinner together. You have stupid challenges like who can eat the most ice cream, little things like that. I mean, that's what make it worth it.
What kind of challenge is that? I bet I can get fatter than you. I bet you can't.
That's what it is. I mean, it's not everybody's not calendar shoot ready for the firefighter calendar.
We're gonna talk about that in a second too. I know you. Yeah.
Those are the most fun memories that stand out. I mean, the calls that you do well, where somebody's grandma, their heart stopped and they died, and you brought them back. That's awesome, and those stick with you too. But the main memories are the ones of you having your fun at the station. I mean, when I was new, or when I was a rookie, we call them probies for probational. I got pranks pulled on me. Now that I'm a little bit more senior, we get new guys and we're pulling pranks on them. And since we're firefighters, you got creative ways. You can put the ladder up, get on the roof of the fire station, and you're throwing flour and spraying water on people, on the new guy. Things like that are fun. They're, and especially it's funny when, say, you antique. For those of you who don't know, it's throwing flour on somebody and you pour some water on them and it becomes like a putty and it sticks to everything. And then you get a call, and then you have to explain to your patients why that one guy is covered in powder and water and slime all over the place. Little things like that make it worth it. It's a lot of fun.
That's so stupid. Hey, sorry I got flour on me, and we're a bunch of children.
Yeah, that's
so
pretty much
we saved your daughter, though.
It's pretty much like I was never in a fraternity, but it's like a frat house. You're living with a bunch of other guys, and even the females, they're part of it too. They like to pull pranks on each other. You just gotta kind of be careful. The difference with the female firefighters, you don't want to get sexual harassment charges, because the things we do, in the bunk room, people are showering, you run in on them, and can't do that with the females.
Yeah. That's laws. There's laws for that.
Yeah, that's frowned upon.
Yeah. So you mentioned the calendar earlier. So some of y'all know this. There's like calendars for like various professions, like the cop like calendar and the firefighter calendar. So you've done such a thing, and I just want to know how'd you go about picking your like poses and like your routine to get ready for the calendar? Because this is something that people presumably are hanging in their garage somewhere, or this is at somebody's office like the month of August, and it's you wearing a firefighter's outfit. So like, take me through that process. I've never been on a calendar before, so I don't know what it's like, but
well, mainly our big fundraiser is because a lot of people do the calendars, and we've done that in the past. Our main thing is a fundraiser called St. Baldrick's, and we raise money for pediatric cancer. One of our firefighters, he lost his son to pediatric cancer, so he kind of heads that for us. And so we do it. It's at the Southern Women's Show every year. It just passed this last month at the Orange County Convention Center. It's a women's show where you go in there. It's a big convention. They have like a bunch of hair and shoe and all that female stuff that females like to do. Purse sales, Egyptian leather, sandals. I don't know what it is.
I'm a man. I don't know what Egyptian leather is.
But one of the main attractions is the firefighter, for lack of a better term, strip show. We're coming out with bunker gear. Pretty much, you're throwing your dollar bills in my bunker pants.
Oh boy.
And one thing I'll tell you is women are worse than men. I've seen men in the strip club. Women, you guys are ruthless. I'm all for playing it up. You put a dollar bill here, put a dollar bill there. Man, you women, you're trying to put your hands down in areas and grab and
try to get a handful of firefighter. Yeah.
I felt uncomfortable after. I was raising money for cancer. I was out there trying to do a good thing. I felt violated. I came home. I took a 30-minute shower. I scrubbed 4 times. I washed my hair 6 times. I felt grimy, but it was for a good cause.
Hands on me. He touched me.
It's a lot of fun though. You do it with your boys. You're out there just having fun, raising money for cancer, but you get a few pictures. Sign a few babies. Get some autographs in. It's a good time, and you don't even have to be in the best shape. You think it's out there. The guys who get the most applause are like those older guys with the Santa beer gut and everything. Those guys get the most applause and the most money.
They want to see Santa strip? That's weird. It's a weird Christmas image. It's like, come on, Santa, take off that shirt. That's some ridiculous stuff. But it sounds fun. I feel like you should be able to keep the tips if you do a certain amount. Obviously, you're raising like the proceeds, but if you're doing some pole work or if you're like, doing some splits and stuff, I feel like you should be able to keep a little something for yourself. Just because you're going above and beyond. I really do.
I feel like I'm out there trying to be like Magic Mike. I should get like a 15%, but then again, it's going to cancer, so I'd probably feel like an asshole if I was taking 15% away from children's cancer.
You buy a pair of shoes, and it's like, this really could have gone towards cancer research. Where are my priorities right now? I get that. That's messed up. All right, so we mentioned we like kind of foreshadowed to you saving the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And you've saved more than one baby before, but we just talked about this today. So tell the people about your iconic movie type moment with the baby being saved and all that stuff.
Obviously, I like to play it up. I mean, I think when I walked into the hospital with the baby, it was in slow motion. The wind was getting at me. I was looking actually like it looked like I just got done working out. Obviously,
as swole as possible. The baby's bicep just throbbing.
But our call yesterday, a car accident. It was pretty bad. We had a female driver. She lost control of her vehicle. She hit another car. The vehicle she hit, unfortunately, that guy lost his life. And then the girl driver who lost control, she had her little sister in the back who was 8-month-old, and technically we're supposed to take them to 2 different hospitals because we took her to an adult hospital and the baby should go to the children's side, but I didn't want to separate them, and that's not her legal guardian, so we kept them together. And so to make a long story short, they were both stable as far, the baby had a few cuts and bruises, not really crying too much, but since we didn't have a place for both of them, of course, the driver, which was the older sister, came in on the stretcher, and me, of course, I could have let my partner, who's a female yesterday, carry the baby. She wanted to be all motherly, but I was like, no, I got this. You push the one on the stretcher in, I'm going to carry this adorable 8-month-old baby who keeps pulling on my ears and my hair and making all these goo goo gaga noises. So I walk up into the hospital, and we all know most nurses are female. And you get this firefighter, and like I said, it looked like I just got done working out. It was a car accident. You're pulling them from the wreckage. This baby's got a little dirt on her, a little cuts and bruises. But, I made her feel better. I was doing the whole, pat the back. I guess that's what parents do with babies thing. come in slow motion. All the nurses are loving it. I'm like, oh my God, you saved the baby. I was like, I pulled her directly from the car myself. That's not the truth at all. She was out by the time I got there. But that's the story I'm going to tell.
Yeah.
It makes me look like a hero. I felt like a hero. And it was a little bit different than the normal, hey, my foot hurts, my tooth hurts. Can I come to the hospital?
It's like, you saved my baby. Please, she actually saved me from myself.
That's ridiculous.
It doesn't even make any sense. It's like, it's cases like this that keep me going.
So it'll make it worth it. No, but it's calls like that, it was somebody, it could have potentially been a lot worse.
Yeah, of course.
But as long I'm confident in my abilities to treat people that, when I get on scene, that I'm going to try to give them the best chance of survival if it is immediate danger.
That's some shit, man. So I guess people are wondering, because you said that I'm doubling back now, that the mortality rate and this and that is really high in this profession. So how long do you plan on doing this? What's your career trajectory? Because you've advanced a lot in a short period of time, but at a certain point, I guess, do you want to just be a captain, or do you want to just do this until you're start getting a family and then you transition somewhere else? Or where are you trying to go with this?
Well, in the state of Florida, so all of you voters and politician alike people out there, Governor Rick Scott recently, a couple years ago, he changed the retirement for firefighters who are in the Florida retirement system to 30 years instead of 25. So I have to at least do 30 years to get my retirement. Ugh. So for me, that's not bad. I'll retire at 55, which isn't bad. But, those guys who start a little bit later, they're out there. That's a lot of wear and tear on your body. 30 years of, if you think about it, it's not 30 years of a desk job, sitting at, behind the desk, doing paperwork, filing insurance claims, stuff like that, which is nothing wrong with that. But that's sustainable for 30 years. I can go into an office 9 to 5, do that, and come home. Majority of the time, you're not putting your life on the line, but that 5% where you're running into that building, you're pulling people out of cars, and you have to deal with this Orlando traffic on I-4 with, people trying to swerve around you, and people want to see, because they see all the lights on in the fire truck, so they want to look what happens. We've actually had a guy get run over while trying to save somebody from a car accident. He was in pretty bad shape. He was out for almost a year rehabbing. But so if you think about little things like that, and then just the everyday things like lifting, the stretcher in and out, carrying tools, I'm 27, and all of a sudden, the last 2 years, my back hurts from the way I lift things. And I work out. I try to take care of myself, so it's not just me being lazy. It's just the wear and tear on your body doing that, over and over. You're lifting patients up. Some of your patients are over 300 pounds, and it's just you and your partner. So you got two people trying to lift up 300 pounds of dead weight. You're going to pull something here, do that. So I try to take good care of myself that way. But the best way, what you said is do I want to promote, I plan to. Not only is it a higher position, more responsibility, and you become a leader, but you also get that pay raise and stuff like that. So my goal is to promote as high as I can. Right now, the next step for me would be engineer, which would be driving the engine.
Oh.
From that, that would be fun.
That's dope. That's dope.
And then after that, you can go to lieutenant, which you're in charge of your crew on the engine in your house. With us, every fire department is different. Then from there, we have captain. You're in charge of more the safety and stuff like that. And you can go to chief. I mean, you can work yourself all the way up. That chief position is nice, but you're not the one going into the buildings and stuff like that. You're more so in charge of the scene, making sure everybody else is doing their job. So that's definitely something, possibly later down the line, especially once I get older, I imagine when I'm 50 years old, I'm not going to be wanting to run into a burning building with these young gunners, these 19, 20-year-olds. I'd rather be on the outside watching them, making sure they're safe and less wear and tear on my body after all the years. So there's definitely ways to get around of you're not running into the buildings, you're not doing all this forever. But to make it last 30 years, you definitely got to be mindful of, am I taking care of myself? Am I exercising? Am I especially stretching? That's been a big thing with me lately. Eating right, But what they say about Firehouse food and the stereotype of the chili,
Firehouse
and all
subs,
that.
man. That's what they put that commercial out.
Man, don't eat at Firehouse subs. They rip us off. For firefighters, you get a little something. They give you a free bag of chips.
Ugh.
For cops, they get 50% off, which I don't understand. So cops get 50% off at Firehouse subs, and us actual real life firefighters get a bag of chips. That's like $1.
You might as well go to Subway and have them peel off that meat one at a time, and then give you 3 handfuls of spinach. Ew.
It's definitely. I mean, I say it's the best job, man. I mean, technically, since I work 24-hour shifts, I work 10 days a month. But then again, at my station, I'm spending that first day recovering. But
Right.
I wouldn't change it, man. It's definitely a good job. You got good crew, good people. I mean, there's been days where I cancel vacation because I'm like, dang, I'm going to miss out on something at the station. Something funny's going to happen, some inside joke. I'm going to get back from vacation. I'm not going to know what's going on. I'm going to be left out. It's kind of like when you have a group of friends and you got plans with your girl, when your boys still go out and you miss some great night and they're all talking about it for, months and you have no idea. You kind of just sit there quietly and like, yeah. I remember
I wish I would have been there. We watched Stranger Things instead. We caught my Stranger Things. What'd you guys do? Crazy night. It's like, damn it.
Love you, boo.
Man, I'm happy we got a chance to do this. We were just messing around. I'm on vacation, and we should have done this probably a few days ago, but whatever. But I wanted to get you on a podcast, but I didn't want it to be like the traditional, let's talk through a problem podcast. And we've talked about it. I was like, man, you do something that most people don't do or don't have a lot of knowledge about. So I think you're giving us some insight into what you do and the mentality of it. And maybe some people out there were kind of in between careers and were like, oh, that sounds like something that maybe something I can do at some point. But I'm happy we got a chance to do this because now I get to put you on the podcast and, we can kind of ride this thing out and see where it goes. You have anything you want to leave the people with before we close this out?
I mean, I know I said it, that majority of the time it's not an emergency, but if you still want to keep that stereotype that I'm in there saving babies, rescuing cats.
How many cats have you saved?
2, but I mean...
That's a real, okay. That's 2 more than I thought you would have.
And they weren't even out of trees. They were out of storm drains. So you look like even more of a hero when you pull a bunch of kittens out of a storm drain in front of a bunch of people. But if you want to keep that stereotype that that's what I'm doing every day is running into buildings, shirt burning off, and I'm still okay, that's fine by me.
Keep the stereotypes. Say some stereotypes are actually good. That's the moral of the story. They're not always bad, people. Sometimes they're good. So thank y'all for tuning in to the Unofficial Therapy Podcast. This will be on iTunes if you're listening to it. Tell your friends about it. Subscribe. Like, whatever you got to do with it. Share it. Thank y'all for listening. We'll be back next week with a more traditional podcast probably. Thank y'all for listening. Mark, thank you for coming through and blessing the people with your stories and your time. Y'all have a good day. Deuces.